Welcome to Shruti Out Loud.
All right, namaste, and welcome back to another episode of Shruti Out Loud. So far, we have had a list of so many guests and so many learnings and so many new lessons of life and so many new motivations. So recently, as you all know, that I was traveling in Himachal Pradesh, and the episode before the previous one was with Aishwarya, whom I met in Jibhi. And today I have another episode with somebody that I met because of that travel plan. So today we have Ashish with us, who is from Grat Foundation. I will let him explain all what exactly that is about, and it is majorly about sustainable living and sustainable traveling, and where did they get this idea from, how did it all start. So before I go on explaining anything on my own, I'll just add him up and let him do the talking now. All right, welcome,
Yeah.
Ashish.
Hi, Shruti. Hi, Shruti. Yeah.
Hi, so good to see you, and first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this.
It's a pleasure.
And when I was there, I don't think so that you were in Senj.
No, no,
Or were
I was in
you?
Kullu, so yeah. So we have like multiple places all across the Kullu. So I like keep on traveling. Sometime in the Nagar, Jibbi, Tirthan, Sanj. So
Right.
yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah, because I met Trupti and I met
Trupti and
Karthik.
Karthik.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. They were there at the
So,
moment.
yes.
So you didn't met Joe. I think he was also there. And I don't know if
Yes, I think
you
so. He
guys.
was there, but I think, yeah, we could not match the
Yeah,
timings and all, and I don't think so we met
yeah,
him.
that's great. Yeah.
All right. So, without
So
wasting any other minute, Ashish, could you tell us what exactly this foundation is about and how did it all start?
yes, sure. So yeah, how do we go about it? Like, let us start with the name first. Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
it's we like to call it GRAT, but it's registered at Gratus Earth Foundation because when we applied in Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they rejected application saying that it's a conflict of interest with a foundation called Great India Foundation or something like that. So we didn't get the name GRAT Foundation, but the
Okay.
registered name is Gratus Earth Foundation. We
All
like to
right.
call it grat, so we've like patented grat, so we're using it as grat only.
All
So
right.
grat is obviously it's derived from gratitude.
Right.
So the basic idea behind grat foundation is we want everyone associated with us to feel grateful, so you feel grateful for for the things you might have. Not everyone has that luxury. So the basic idea of this foundation was we fabricate a society where everyone at least associated with us could feel grateful. So that's
Okay.
the basic idea behind it. So
All right.
as gratitude, it's like the highest virtue of all. So this feeling of gratitude, it unlocks the fullness of life, and it turns what we have into enough, or like denial into acceptance, and all of these things, like also in our case a house into a home. So yeah, so that was the basic idea, and with that thought in mind, we incorporated Gratus Earth Foundation. So
All
and
right.
that's about the name basically. So how did this
Right.
idea came into being? So apparently my background is into textiles. So I've studied from NIFT, I've studied fashion, I've studied manufacturing and operational of all of these things.
Wow,
So
that's quite
uh,
different from.
yeah, that's quite different. So it's a funny story how I landed in travel. So travel landscape. So after graduating from NIFT, I started to work with a consulting company. So that company was specializing in labor standard and working condition in garment industry across globe. So and they used to implement CSR initiatives or the social impact surveys for the brands and the governments, and big NGOs like or UN arms like ILO and related companies. So I
Right.
was like exposed to development sector at large at my stint in that company. So during my stint at that company, so I got exposure about how these big non-profit companies are driving change and working
Right.
on serious global challenges. So after that, post my stint at that company, I got an opportunity from government of MSME to work in Himachal Pradesh
Okay.
with the Society of Weavers. So Himachal is a lot of weaver societies. There's a lot of
Right.
handloom work going on in Himachal. Like
Right.
I don't know if you've heard about Kullu shawls. Have you like ever heard about Kullu shawls?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Know about it.
I you know about it, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, this industry in Himachal is very organized. It's more like a household industry. It's not an organized factory system like we have in
Right.
cities. There's no
Right.
proper setup, proper infrastructure, nothing. So people work in their houses. They have pit looms. They have their own traditional methods and tools to practice on. So
Right.
in this project, like I was working as a consultant, so I had to work with a lot of societies to help them improve their productivity, maximize their efficiency, and to help them with design development and all of these things.
Right.
So my work involved my work involved going to so many remote places in Himachal, all across Kullu, and to
Okay.
work with these societies, self-help groups of women. That's how I landed in Sanj.
All right.
So
Oh,
that's how so I had to visit
wow.
Sanj, and that's how the Sanj episode started. So
So
yeah,
what year was
so
this?
this was 2019,
Hmm.
two
All
years
right.
ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where the Sanj episode began. So
Right.
I landed in Sanj, and yeah, so me and a couple of my colleagues who were working with me, we found one house in a remote village in Sanj. So it's not the one that you visited. It's a village called Rela. You must have heard about it by now.
Right. Right. Right.
So yeah. So there was a very beautiful house in Rela. It was an old house, like it was built in 1870s apparently.
Okay.
So we got in like awe with that house, and we were like we would like to stay here for some time. So we
Okay.
leased out that house, and I and my friends, we sort of like started to stay there, and eventually it had a lot of space, so we thought of converting it into a homestay. So because when you are in Himachal, you get a lot of calls from your friends
Yeah.
or your network to अच्छा आप कहाँ पे है, आ जा यहाँ पे कुछ करते हैं ऐसा करके. So
Right.
we kind of turned it into a homestay, and we started to host people whenever we got time. So
Okay.
eventually I started to do it like full time. I
All right.
like I left my job, and
Oh, while living there only you took that decision.
yeah.
Wow, wonderful.
So I left my job, and then we leased out one another property in Deori. So it's
Oh,
not so yeah in Deori village. So we started to run a homestay again. So yeah, I ran homestay for about an year, and after an year, I realized that this is not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to run
okay.
homestay myself. Instead of me running homestay, I should engage local people and train them to start their hospitality business, and I could channelize my information and my skills to help them.
Right.
Then lockdown happened. Okay,
Okay.
so in entire lockdown period, we kind of strategized to how to go about it, and what to do, and what all things we need to do. So during this time, during this lockdown time, I met Joe. He's also co-founder in the Gratus Earth Foundation.
All
So after
right.
the lockdown got lifted, Jomi joined me, and we started to like identify potential homes that could be turned into eco stay for the travelers. And we started to like build capacity and train the local partners. And we like in the first window of the lockdown, first and the second lockdown, we had one window, right? So in that window, we managed to host close to like 500 guests in the pilot run. So
Oh, wow.
so we identified like close to 10 properties around Deori only in Sanj Valley. So that's what we do. So then later on, Trupti and Karthik also joined us, and they're now helping us scale the program. And now we have presence in different villages, and we have like 20 plus homestays around Kullu. I think I cannot hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying
Yeah.
that's absolutely amazing how this
Hmm.
journey started and how it turned out.
So it's a
One thing
story.
led
Like
to
everyone has a
another.
story. That's our story. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
One thing led to another, and then the team just kept growing, and yeah, you just found your
yeah.
purpose, I suppose.
Yeah, yes, it's one of the purpose. So as I told you that I've not specialized in hospitality, it's just happened. So
Right,
my basic this thing is in hospitality, and I'm still working on that. So yeah,
right.
later on I'll explain that also.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving
So
on to our next question.
mhm.
So, what are the core values of your foundation? And could you maybe just give us an example how you sort of, implement them in your day-to-day work or your long-term goals?
Sure. So our, so we don't have like many corporatized version of core values as such, but yeah, we do have certain basic sacrosancts like equality, then learning
Right,
and innovation, yeah, self-sustainability and frugal.
right.
So equality. So how do I justify equality as a core value in our company? So we've made structure of our company as a like flat hierarchy. Okay,
Okay,
so there's nothing like in traditional companies. What do you see? There's a CEO and there's VP and there's manager and there's executive, and there's a whole lot of chain from ऊपर से नीचे. So
right,
what we
right,
have here
right,
is a flat hierarchy. So this makes us very easy to kind of scale in a fast pace. So because what happens is if we talk about traditional companies, so 90% of the profits is consumed by CEOs, and what a CEO makes in uh, a month, an employee will make in maybe 2 3 years or sometimes 10 years. Or
right, right,
so yeah, so to reduce that, we've made one flat hierarchical structure. So उसमें ऐसा ही है कि सबका equal say है, सबका equal opinion है, and everyone opinions. It's basically a people-owned company, so no one is a boss. But yeah, so that's how we go about equality. And then learning and innovation, so we जब भी हम college से निकलते हैं ना, we always draw ourselves into this mentality that अब तो हो गया, मतलब पढ़ वढ़ लिया है, अब तो पैसे कमाने हैं, लेकिन learning never stops. So learning and innovation
absolutely.
is the other thing. Then it's self-sustainability. We should be able to, we believe in consistent learning and self-sustainability. It's also one of our values. So to kind of create the impact we intend to create. So
Right,
we I believe that we should be able to self-sustain ourselves, and we should be able to impact envision society that we envision by being self-sustainable and with minimum assistance from the outside. So that's what we do. If we
right,
require, we'll absolutely welcome it, but we should be self-sustainable. And the last value is frugal. So
right,
we believe in innovation that's frugal. So yeah, we do
right.
not believe in resource efficiency. We just believe in power of information and
Okay.
the hard work we put in. Yeah.
Right. Also, like the core values that you are discussing, these
Mhm.
are about your core team. But how about the people that you sort of, collaborate with? Like the people who sort of you work with on like in one way or the other. So how does
So
that happen?
yeah, so we also have like we've kept basic keywords like transparency. We maintain transparency, maintain trust what we are doing. And then inclusion. If we include them in every initiative, हम सब कुछ transparently बताते हैं हम क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या करना चाहते हैं. We sort of engage them, and we take their say also, that this is what we're planning to, and they also have their say. इस तरह से. So it's inclusiveness and the
Right.
transparency that we practice with our local suppliers as well.
Right. Also, I have a question here
Yeah,
that
sure.
when it comes to the gender equality part,
Yeah.
so have you faced any issues with that? Because people there, the community we saw when we were in Senj,
Mhm.
it's very independent, and even the women folk there are very strong and
Yeah,
very, as
we
in they
don't
know what
need
they are into.
empowerment. They're already empowered,
Yeah, completely. Like I was absolutely so happy to see that they know what they have to do,
and
they know
they're
what they
in
are
forefront.
doing.
So yeah, so like
Absolutely.
most of out of most of our homestays, many of our homestays are run by the women. So they're like they equally take part, and with everything, like not only about the managerial part of it, even the financials and everything. So yeah, so they have that thing already, so they don't
So
need
they
any
are
sort of
completely
empowerment. That's
equally
what we get.
involved.
Yes, 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 exactly.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so moving on to our next question.
Mhm.
Could you give some examples of the employment generation you guys are focusing on?
Employment generation. So yeah, so that's also one very buzzword of these days to generate employment. And also but I
Right,
believe in rural India, when it comes to in terms of villages, so villages still date, they sort of succumb to the migration to the cities due to the lack of
yeah,
livelihood opportunities and poor income and other personal
right,
responsibilities. अपना घर संभालना है, कुछ करना है, वो उन्हें जाना पड़ता है,
right, right,
and they're unaware of prosperous resource they're surrounded by. So
right,
we are just
right,
focusing on making these opportunities more visible and supporting them through. That's what we are doing. So we cannot like हमें कोई ऐसा company नहीं बनाना कि जहाँ पे हम लोगों को employment दे रहे हैं. We just identifying those opportunities, making them visible to the locals,
right,
and they can
right,
then adopt those practices, and we can help them through. Yeah, so that's what we are doing.
right. All right. Okay, so because when we were there, like I was
Uh-huh.
very happy to see that we were staying with Kappu and his family. So
Yeah.
majorly his mom was into, cooking absolutely delicious food that we loved
Mm-hmm.
so much. Oh my God, I'm still, I just, it just took me back
Yeah.
there.
Plan a
And
visit again.
oh yes, absolutely. Will do. Will do. I have to come back there. And like Kappu was into, he was taking us around and all of that. So I think that is also sort of, involving the youth in
The
something like,
entire and
yeah,
so yeah. So all of the families are, and they're very enthusiastic about it also. So initially we also had this thing in our mind that people be receptive toward this thing. बहुत लोगों को ये भी होता है कि मतलब ये करना है नहीं करना है, कई तरह के लोग आएंगे, लेकिन people are very open. And yeah, so we got quite a local support also, local management से, पंचायत से, so we didn't have any sort of issues with
mm,
them. So people are also, they're amiable and welcoming, and so
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. The love that we got there, like it was so good. And the day we were leaving and all the villagers that we met while crossing the rasta, everybody was like, "Oh, you're leaving, do come back." And it was such a good feeling. So that
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
very nice. Yeah, it was very warm. The warmth could be felt in the people there. And you could see that, people there are open to the idea of opening up majorly.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, because I think sometimes what happens is that people in the city, people like me, people who are living in
Mhm.
cities and all, they think, ki, Arey yaar, now everybody will start going there, and this place will become so commercialized and all. So yeah, I think that worries people a bit, but at the same time, it's okay. Like even they, if they want
So
to
it
move
happens.
ahead,
It will. So yeah. So eventually, not eventually, but initially when we started, so I also sort of got into that savior complex, that I'm doing something very great and this and
right,
all of that, all of those things. So, but eventually I realized that what we are doing will in some way will it like breed greed, or क्या कुछ मतलब ऐसा जैसा आप बोल रहे हैं ना कि मतलब ऐसा हो जाएगा, ओवर कमर्शलाइज्ड हो जाएगा, क्या हो जाएगा.
right,
We cannot help
right,
it if we are not doing it. some
absolutely.
some or the other thing will do it. They're already doing agriculture. तो मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि वहां पे कुछ और रिसोर्सेज
होना
नहीं है,
ही
तो
नहीं है
मतलब
ये, हाँ,
हाँ, तो
राइट,
वो तो कुछ किसी ना किसी तरीके से होगा ही, वैसा है.
right, absolutely. All right, so moving on to the next question. So let's
Mhm.
talk about the endangered art and craft. What are the steps that you are taking towards it? Like you
Sure.
initially you mentioned the
Yeah.
kullu shawls wala part. So could you maybe give us a bit more detail about that?
Sure. So Himachal, as everyone knows it. Only not everyone, but most of the people know it about know Himachal about only the natural beauty or the snowy mountains, and but it do have like its own rich heritage and traditional crafts and arts. But yeah, so in crafts also, when we talk about endangered crafts, we are we are very likely to find ourselves surrounded with the exploitation of artisans and boring statistics or empowerment stuff, and but that's not everything. So when I was working with the Weaver societies here, so I identified the problem that I could work on, and I'm just pursuing those problems only. So our take is, so we identify the stock problem in Kullu. So in Kullu, if we talk about Kullu shawls, so the Kullu has been a prominent place historically. Like there was a entire wool route जिसमें कुल्लू भी आता था, मतलब जो मिडिल ईस्ट से चलता था और अफगानिस्तान होता हुआ जैसे सिल्क रोड होता है, वैसे एक वूल रूट भी था, जिसमें कुल्लू एक मेजर जगह थी. तो अब उस टाइम से उन्होंने जो प्रैक्टिसेस अडॉप्ट किए हैं ना, वो आज भी वही हैं. मतलब उनकी जो डिजाइन डेवलपमेंट है, दैट्स लिमिटेड. So the kind of motives they were making then, अभी वही बन रहे हैं. कोई मतलब बहुत लिमिटेड डिजाइन डेवलपमेंट है, वही सब चीजें. एक दो सोसाइटीज हैं जो थोड़ी प्रोग्रेसिव हैं, जिनके पास थोड़ी ज्यादा, जो थोड़ी पॉलिटिकली दे लाइक मोर स्टेबल, और उनको सब्सिडीज मिल जाती हैं गवर्नमेंट से, तो थोड़े पैसे आ जाते हैं, थोड़ा रिसोर्स मिल जाता है. लेकिन सबको नहीं मिलता है. कुल्लू में लाइक 65,000 वीवर्स, नॉट एवरीवन हैज एक्सेस टू ऑल ऑफ दोज subsidies and everything. Every गवर्नमेंट जो भी उन्हें एड्स दे रही है, वो सबके पास एक्सेस है नहीं है. तो हम जैसे एक स्टॉक का प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहे हैं. वी आर सॉल्विंग प्रॉब्लम ऑफ स्टॉक. सो आई पर्सनली आइडेंटिफाइड कि लोग बहुत बनाए जा रहे हैं, पाइल अप होता जा रहा है. यहाँ पे एक्चुअली पता क्या है, इफ आई डोंट नो, अब मैं वूल में घुस जाऊंगा, मतलब ऐसा.
नहीं, प्लीज गो अहेड.
सो मतलब इफ वूल if we talk about wool, 98% of wool is exported to other countries by Australia. So we only have 2%. और उसमें भी अगर कुल्लू बोले तो उसको नेग्लिजिबल है दुनिया में. और कुल्लू एक ऐसी जगह है कि मतलब जहाँ पे अबंडेंस में है, शीप है, सब कुछ है, भेड़ बकरी है, सब कुछ है, अच्छा खासा फाइबर निकलता है, नेचुरल फाइबर इज इन अबंडेंस. लेकिन ये इंडस्ट्री इतनी कंपेटिटिव नहीं है कि ग्लोबल जो ट्रेंड्स हैं, फैशन ट्रेंड्स हैं, उनके साथ चल सके. And we मतलब it's a crippled industry again. So there's limited design development. People are not that aware, they're not technologically that sound, and their industry is also not very organized, so and also not very productive also. So अगर कुछ बना भी देते हैं, कुछ बहुत अच्छा बना देते हैं, they'll make it like it will be very expensive for them to make, because they lack proper infrastructure and proper process and everything. तो वो जो बनाएंगे, और तो वो ग्लोबल मार्केट में कम्पीट भी नहीं कर पाएंगे. बाकी ऑस्ट्रेलिया वाले बना के देंगे, चाइना वाले बना के देंगे बहुत सस्ते में. सो उस तरह की भी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. सो दैट्स आवर टेक. एंड आल्सो वी आर डेवलपिंग वन सोसाइटी इन सैंज आल्सो. सो सैंज में इफ वी टॉक अबाउट सैंज, कुल्लू इज लाइक, कुल्लू में इंडस्ट्री है, इज अ मैच्योर इंडस्ट्री. लोग हैं, मतलब दे आर डूइंग वीविंग फॉर एजेस. इन सैंज आल्सो, इफ यू विजिटेड देवरी, वहां पे भी आपने देखा होगा कि द पीपल हु वीव, but they're pet looms. They're only limited to particular products. They cannot move beyond that because they do not have proper infrastructure. So we are now presently developing a society in Sanj of like 500 weavers from different villages. They included Deori, Shangad, Shenshar, Rela and all the prominent villages जहाँ पे थोड़ी population है, जहाँ पे लोग weave करते हैं, वहाँ की एक society हम बना रहे हैं. और we'll sort of promote that society so that they can attain that government benefits that people in Kullu are getting. So they'll get proper looms. जो बड़े looms होते हैं, अच्छे products बना सकते हैं, और उन्हें मतलब और कई तरह की सब्सिडीज मिलेंगी. मतलब गवर्नमेंट से कई तरह की सब्सिडीज मिलती हैं, जैसे if they procure yarn, so they're the government nominated suppliers, जहाँ से उन्हें वो सस्ते में मिल जाता है, गवर्नमेंट में सब्सिडीज देती है, but they're not aware of that. So that's so sort of awareness we are trying to bring there in Sanj as well.
All right.
And then we please.
Yeah, because when we were there, so I saw that people had their own weaving wala structure.
Looms.
Yeah.
You call it hand
but
loom.
I did not. मतलब I saw them like वहाँ पे उनका ना पूरा वो structure रखा हुआ था, तो I saw that कि अच्छा यहाँ पे this is right. Absolutely, you are from the textile industry, so you can give it a right name.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
So and also, so we are also working on creating supply chains that are like digitally responsive. So and using technology to maximize productivity. And obviously we have a team of designers as well here in Kullu. and so we are also working simultaneously on designer and R&D कर रहे हैं थोड़े अलग अलग natural fibers पे भी. I am very interested in natural fibers, so we are like developing new fibers, like hemp को silk के साथ mix करके कुछ बना दिया, और wool को किसी के साथ mix करके कुछ बना दिया इस तरह से. And yeah, so that's what we are doing. So it will take time, but yeah, we'll slowly get there. Yeah,
but that's the path you're on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay, so our next question is about something that we have already discussed, but I want to get into a little more depth of it. So, commercialization in Himachal, as we just talked. So, you have already shared your thoughts about it, but how are you trying to create something different? As you mentioned that it is inevitable, it is going to happen, but what are the steps that you are taking through this foundation to make sure that it doesn't really change the vibe of the place?
Yeah, so yes, see, yeah, we discussed about it. I'm not against the commercialization thing, so because it's inevitable, it will happen, and it comes with its own share of good and bad. So
absolutely,
so I'm not against it. So but rapid development is unsustainable. If we're doing aggressively about it, it's unsustainable. So sometimes the system will collapse. जैसे अभी आप अगर आप मनाली में आए हैं, अगर आपने मनाली में देखा है कि क्या हाल है, तो मतलब somewhat like that. Yeah, so rest in our framework, we we're focusing on maintaining a balance between economic and social sustainability. So yeah, so because so conservatives are sort of fool. They whine about the decay of traditional values, and simultaneously they enthusiastically support about the technological advancements. तो ऐसा साथ में तो नहीं हो सकता ना कुछ भी. तो बैलेंस बनाना पड़ेगा. तो that's what we are focusing on. कि रैपिड नहीं करना है, धीरे धीरे करो, प्लान करके करो. So उस तरह से बस वही कर रहे हैं.
कि basically just go slow about it. Go slow, and yes, don't obviously. Be in a rush. हाँ.
या तो मतलब ऐसे नहीं कि स्केल करना है कि आज हमारे पास 20 होमस्टे हैं तो हमारे पास अगले साल 200 होने चाहिए और फिर 500. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. तो या go slow about it, वैसा ही है.
Right. All right. Okay, so could you maybe throw some light on your ongoing projects? You have mentioned some of them, but is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience, with our listeners?
Yeah, most of them I've covered. Yeah, so yeah, we have been working this hospitality thing, and we've been building this community run network of villages, बहुत सारे villages, और textile maybe are doing some R&D projects अभी तक के लिए, and eventually we'll be coming up with some collections. So we will be launching our label also. So in that we'll be like promoting natural fiber based products from Himachal.
All right. Could you tell me a bit more in detail about the hospitality projects? Like, is it only what places is it in? Because Sanj, yes, I'm aware of it. What other places in Himachal are you focusing on?
Chamba, Kinnaur, Lahore.
All right.
So Himachal, so yeah, let me, so ये भी होता है ना. So but when we talk about Himachal, so first thing that will come to your mind is Manali or Shimla or Dalhousie or Dharamshala. That's not even 0.0001% of Himachal. Himachal is big, it's huge. So every other village has something different to offer and entirely different culture. So I mean, this lifetime will be like not enough to come up with all the villages. And, so Himachal is huge. So yeah, and so that's what we also plan to do. Like, this is one of our agendas also, to decentralize tourism from the most commercial places to गांव में जाओ यार, देखो थोड़ा, मतलब 4-5 गांव का ऑप्शन होगा तो वहां पे जाके देखो क्या है, उस तरह से.
Right. All right. So you have already shared the idea of how you are working for the people who are living there. Now, my next question is about because when people visit these places, some people are mindful, but some people are majorly, I won't say majorly, but I'll take that word back. But yes, some people just, travel mindlessly and they don't really care about the places they are in. So are there any awareness activities that you guys are planning to sort of, rope in the travelers?
Yeah, so we've been collaborating with some organizations हिमाचल में भी हैं कुछ active और भी volunteering organizations हैं and
All right.
मतलब we are in process, so I cannot disclose the name. So and there are some
Yeah.
international companies also who are working on similar projects. तो उनका भी है मतलब कि how
Okay.
to sort of filter such audience and आप locals को भी कैसे समझा सकते हैं कि ये सब कैसे करना है, कैसे मैनेज करना है और कैसे मतलब how to go about it. So and in
Right.
hospitality you met across different people and you cannot filter according to your ease. So
Yeah.
we welcome people, but yeah, so eventually we'll be setting up rules. If you comply to those rules, you're welcome. Otherwise, please go to Manali.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you have to set some rules in that sense. Because
Sure.
if you intend to go on this path, then majorly, same vibe wale log hi match kar pate hain.
Right.
That's how it is.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, if you
Yeah.
start welcoming anybody and everybody, then everybody comes with their own thoughts and, nahi match hota hai. So I think that's a very good idea that, this is how it is. And if you can be okay with it, then sure. If not, then you have other options also.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. So, moving on to our last question for this entire conversation. Are you guys looking for any volunteers, and how can people get in touch with you regarding any bookings, or if they want to volunteer, or if they want to be a part of your team? So, what is the process for all of that?
So yeah, so we haven't as of now worked much on our presence online. So obviously there
Okay.
is no they can just email us. So I can share across our email IDs. Maybe Trupti can drop in some of the
That would
details.
be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so eventually we'll be up with so like while we are talking, simultaneously work is going on to build websites and all, so eventually they'll be live. So basically
Right. Also, like your properties, the way I booked was through Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah.
So, so is it just Airbnb for now, or are there any other portals that people can hop onto and find you guys?
Airbnb, booking.com, and
Acha, also booking.com.
make my trip also. Yeah. So
Perfect.
eventually we'll be coming up with so we are relying on Airbnb and booking.com as of now because we don't have our own platform as of now. So eventually we'll have our
Right.
own platform and we'll use that only in some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. That sounds so good, Ashish. And I would like to thank you once again for turning up for this
It was great.
conversation and letting
Yeah.
people know who you guys are. And, I think creating this awareness is very important. And I'm so
Sure.
glad that, I got in touch with you through Airbnb and, everything that led to this. I'm very happy.
Same here. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so very much once again and have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, guys. So that was a very good session with Grad Foundation, as they call themselves. And as you saw that, the main idea is to create awareness of the kind of life that we live and how we impact in this world that we are living in. So it is totally up to you, totally up to each one of us to make the choices that we want to make, to either actually be a contributor and not just a taker, or actually be a giver and give back to the society, give back to the world that we are living in, give back to the nature that keeps giving us. So with that thought, I'll take a leave, and you can see this episode on the drill, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and you can hear the episode on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Ghana, and Amazon Music. So that's about it. And I will be back with another session with another guest, somebody else with another motivating story and something else to make you guys go and, just follow your passion, follow your heart, and do things that you really want to do in this life. Because it's, life is beautiful. So live it fully, live it completely, give your all. And yeah, I think that's how I will end the episode. All right, thank you, namaste, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe.